Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is Misty Moss. I am a boudoir photographer, self-portrait artist, and burlesque performer, all things celebrating the art of self. And today we are talking about how burlesque changed my life. And if you've never done burlesque yourself, maybe this video can plant some seeds into your heart, your soul, and your mind on how burlesque can maybe change your life too. Let's get into it. Alright, before we get into the juicy transformations that burlesque has brought into my life, a little bit of backstory. So I started burlesque about, oh my goodness, 9 years ago now, and I started burlesque in tandem with my boudoir business because when I found burlesque, I found the most beautiful community of body liberation, celebration, and just people enjoying their bodies exactly as they are and embracing it on stage. When I started burlesque, I had this huge epiphany moment where I was like, is this how you can feel in your body? You can just find joy and pleasure existing in your body? This is incredible. And from that moment on, I knew that I had to bring this feeling into my life in as many ways as possible. And to me, that looked like creating a boudoir business that helped other people who don't do burlesque find those same feelings through boudoir photography. So ever since I started burlesque in 2015, I have been doing it ever since, and I probably will never stop because it is honestly the gift that keeps giving. It is such a beautiful art form, and the history of burlesque is one that I just keep falling back in love with and introduce as many beautiful people to this art form who may not have had the privilege of enjoying it yet. So that's a little bit of my backstory, and now let's talk about how it's changed my life. I found burlesque when I was 23 or 22. I'm trying to do some backwards math. I'm not very good at math. Let's say 23, which is pretty young. I found burlesque at a really young age. A lot of burlesque performers are older than that. There's a lot of people in their 30s, there's a lot of people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. There's people, we call them legends, still performing burlesque in their 70s and 80s and maybe 90s. So burlesque has no age limit. But when I found burlesque in my early 20s, I was at war with my body. I was drinking the juice of culture, telling me that my body was not good enough the way that it was, and I had such deep inherited beliefs about my body image, and it was really holding me back from being the person that I was meant to be. So when I found burlesque, I found body liberation. I found confidence, I found power, I found joy and pleasure and just pure bliss in watching all of these amazing artists just celebrate their bodies when they got up on stage. Burlesque really gave me like a permission slip that I didn't realize I was missing to just inspect everything that I had inherited belief-wise about my body and how it was supposed to exist in this world. It opened up the can of worms that has brought me to where I am now, 9 years later, which is helping other people observe their own body image beliefs so that they can be their best selves, their favorite selves, and stop holding themselves back. So burlesque was kind of the catalyst that brought me to self-liberation and becoming the artist and the educator I am today, I guess, of just helping others and guiding them through this process to come home to themselves. So yeah, I think that was kind of the first transformation that burlesque gave me. It was both a permission slip and also the mirror that I needed to be held up to show me the life that I could be living if I wasn't being held back by all of these internalized beliefs I held around my body and how it was supposed to look and act and jiggle and not jiggle. And I had really put myself into a box that prevented me from being my true self. And burlesque was the mirror that was like, hey, you could be so much more than this if you stopped and just enjoyed being in your body exactly as it is. I also think it's really important here to note why I talk about body image so much in the work that I do, and why having this like aha realization was so pivotal and important for me. Body image and insecurities are something that we're taught at a young age as a method of control. So it's not like an accidental byproduct of our culture. It is very much a marketed scheme to keep our brains busy and constantly thinking about our bodies instead of thinking about other ways we can change the world and be better, bigger, louder people, especially for people who are born in female bodies. This is something that we grow up with our whole lives. If you haven't read The Beauty Myth, go read it. It is just a really good historical lesson of how, why, and when this beauty myth was constructed and sold to us. So yeah, burlesque was a really beautiful way for me to start questioning that beauty myth and the chokehold that it really has on us from such a young age. And it really just kind of unleashed me a little bit into the world to be louder, take up more space, and just do the work that I need to do for myself and for others. The next transformation that burlesque gave me is the feeling of pure embodiment, of being just fully in your body and in the present moment. As somebody who exists predominantly inside my head, as I feel like a lot of us do, over the course of my life, it's been really hard to just sink back into my body and to tap into that deep inner knowing and intuition, because our bodies know how to be bodies better than our brains ever will, and better than we think we know how our bodies should be bodies. They've been doing it forever. There is such deep wisdom that extends longer than our human lives of how our bodies know how to exist and be. And doing burlesque and feeling those 4 minutes when you're on stage and time stands still and simultaneously does not exist, and there's nothing but you and the audience, and this energetic exchange of like, look at me and witness me. And as a performer and also an audience member, that energy exchange is wild, because we've spent so long being told not to draw attention to ourselves and to not take up space. There is so much power and just transformation that comes of just saying, no, screw that. Witness me loving myself, witness me feeling good in my body, witness me taking up space, witness me being a strong, powerful, friggin' human. Like, it is just absolutely wild. And in those moments, there's nothing for you to do except for be fully present. And you're so embodied and you're so in it. And that has been such a big transformation to me, because now I know what that feels like and I can take it and put that feeling into so many other parts of my life. So if I am feeling like I'm way too in here, now I know how to tap in to that feeling. I know how to access those emotions and that sensation of just being so embodied and so just powerful. So that's a huge moment for me when I did burlesque. Was like, oh, this is how it feels like to be so authentically me, taking up space, being seen, and not worrying about what your body looks like when you're being seen. Nothing matters in that moment except how you feel. It's not about how you look, because you feel powerful no matter what you look like. And that is a feeling I bring back to my clients, or a message I try to bring back to my clients, of if they're going through their images and maybe they're like getting stuck on how the image looks, and they're getting stuck on one thing that they don't like about their body, I try to bring them back to, well, how did it feel in that moment? The moment this photo was being taken and you felt so at peace in your body, try to remember that feeling instead of getting stuck on, well, I don't like how I look in this split second of time. Which kind of leads me into my next point. Burlesque allowed me to enjoy that feeling of being so present regardless of how my body looks. On the flip side, seeing burlesque images of myself after a show, so we generally have a photographer shooting the show, going through those photos has been one of the biggest things that has taught me body neutrality in my time as a burlesque performer and a boudoir photographer. Because there is nothing more humbling and more authentic and honest than seeing yourself in motion, not worrying a damn about how your body looks, but just being so in the moment. And like also doing like a lot of crazy acrobatics and tricks and stuff, and like just moving and dancing. You can imagine how goofy those images look sometimes. And I feel like when you are struggling with body image issues, as a lot of us are, one of the ways we kind of heal that is to just avoid it. If we don't look at the photos that trigger us, then we don't have to get triggered and we don't have to sift through those emotions. But then those emotions never actually fully get healed. So perceiving images of myself from burlesque shows, of my body in unflattering angles, just existing and just like enjoying being a body, has been one of the fastest ways for me to gain a sense of body neutrality. It really taught me to let go of how I think my body looks in that image and to let go of the emotions that are attached to that and just be like, you know what, I felt good in that moment. I felt really strong in that moment. And sure, my face might look a little goofy because I was doing some weird facial expression, but that's just a second in time. My body moved past that. Nobody else is remembering that weird 1 second blip of time. Nobody else in the audience has a photographic memory. So it doesn't matter. I can just breeze past that. And now, over the last 9 years, I've been able to remove the emotions that are attached to viewing images of myself, because looking at my body in all different angles has become less shocking and less confronting. If we avoid our body image issues by just never looking at our body, they don't go away. So whenever you look at a picture of yourself, all of that stuff comes up again and you get triggered all over again. And honestly, the best way to move past that and to heal those emotions that come up when you see pictures of yourself is to look at photos of yourself and to see yourself in different angles, in motion, and sitting with those feelings and observing them and not giving them any merit, not giving them any value, but still acknowledging them and observing them. And instead of assigning emotion to them, or even trying to explain them away, instead just getting curious about those feelings that arise. So when looking at photos of yourself triggers you, instead of allowing yourself to surrender to those negative emotions, just instead approaching them with curiosity of, well, where did this thought come from? Who taught it to me? Is it my thought? And even asking yourself if you want to keep that thought any longer, because we get to choose the beliefs that we believe. And so if you are feeling things that come up when you look at photos of yourself and you don't want to believe them anymore, you can let those emotions go and assign a new belief that suits you better at this point in time. And I was able to do that over the last 9 years, looking at these images of myself that brought up all of these feelings. I was able to sit with those feelings, look at the photos of myself, allow myself to get triggered and to feel those feelings, but not assign them value, and just be curious and detach from them. And eventually, now when I see unflattering photos of myself, it's just another picture, and it really doesn't ruin my day like it used to. It's just another photo, and I'll scroll on past it and I'll be like, well, that was a moment in time. And that's it. That's what it's come to, is now this really beautiful sense of body neutrality. And even if you don't do burlesque, I highly recommend either a self-portrait practice or booking a boudoir photographer so that you can get used to looking at pictures of yourself, so that when you see images of yourself, you no longer get overwhelmed with all of the negative emotions that arise first, because the negative emotions almost always arise first when we look at a picture of ourselves. And the more you practice looking at yourself in all angles, all different sides of you, the more it becomes normal and the less shocking it is, and the more you can just observe yourself with neutrality, yes, but then also with positivity and with more kind, gentle, loving eyes. Okay, the last transformation, but certainly not the least, is that I really strongly believe that burlesque has made me a better boudoir photographer and is one of my superpowers for many reasons. The pros and transformations that boudoir and burlesque provide, if it was a Venn diagram, would essentially be a circle. They both offer a sense of embodiment, a way to see yourself and perceive yourself in a new way, a way of showing up for yourself and doing something outside of your comfort zone, and also just a way to be liberated and just be so in your power and to take that back. Burlesque made me a better boudoir photographer because I know how it feels to be absolutely freaking terrified to do something and do it anyways, because you know that at the end of the day, it's good for you and it will give you incredible sense of confidence. A lot of my clients come to me and they're so nervous. It's their first time being photographed or their first time doing a session of this kind. And there's so many big emotions that come with that. There's so many big emotions of being seen, seeing yourself. Burlesque really taught me how to move through those emotions so that I have a deep sense of empathy and I can help guide my clients through those big squidgy feelings with ease and grace and just understanding of what it is to feel all those feels. Burlesque also taught me the power of standing still and breathing, which seems counterintuitive, but is one of the most powerful things you can do while you're on stage. And that's something I bring back to my sessions with all my clients. Breathing is such a huge part of my boudoir sessions that sometimes I joke and I say that it's more like yoga with lingerie on, because we're really just melting into poses and breathing. And that power of breath and just being really, really present and embodied in one moment of time and just feeling into that is something that burlesque taught me and is something I learned from being on stage and performing that art form. And of course, one of the biggest pros that burlesque has taught me that I think makes me a better photographer and business owner is it's just made me hella confident. And not even in the way that I think confidence is often perceived, of just like being so sure of yourself. I'm confident in the way that I just don't give a shit how I'm perceived, because I would rather just show up and do the work knowing that it's going to be received by the people who need to receive it. So I'm not confident in the sense that like I don't feel weird being here. Of course I feel weird showing up on video. Of course it's terrifying standing on stage in front of 200 to 800 people to take your clothes off. Of course that's terrifying. Of course I still feel nervous, but the confidence of doing it anyways and knowing that confidence is an action word and not just a noun, it's a verb, it's something you do. Even if you don't actually feel confident, it's the act of doing the thing that scares you that gives you the confidence that we're seeking. And that sense of showing up anyways, of being scared and doing the damn thing no matter what, is something that I tap into often to show up on YouTube, which actually makes me feel really nervous a lot of the time, or to just show up on stage, to show up on social media for my clients in a really vulnerable way that helps them know that I feel all those feelings that they're feeling too, and helps me connect with people who need my services and need me. I might be the person that they're looking for to help photograph them and to help them in that next stage of their journey. So yeah, burlesque made me maybe not more confident, but definitely give way less shits and just to show up how I need to show up. There you have it. That is some of the very few ways that burlesque has changed my life. There's so many more. I could talk about this forever. If you are curious about burlesque and you want to get into it, you can just Google your city burlesque. I'm sure a bunch of things will show up. Oftentimes there are Facebook groups for specific cities. I live in Victoria. I think our Facebook group is actually Vancouver Island Burlesque, but generally your area burlesque, search it on Facebook or Google and you will find things and people out there willing to teach burlesque. It is a huge art form now since neo-burlesque has kicked off, so I have no doubt that you can find burlesque classes near you. If you can't, come find me on Instagram and slide into my DMs, and hopefully I can find somebody for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, hit that bell, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!